The sun was hot, and the sand under the crowd's boots was burning. The market square of Zurin City was louder than usual. Traders shouted, buyers haggled, and the smell of sweat and oil filled the air. But something else drew everyone's eyes. Today, in the center of the square, a raised platform stood like a stage. Chains clinked as a strange girl hung from steel hooks. Her arms were stretched above her head. Her skin was soft, violet, glowing slightly in the sun. She had silver-white hair that fell over her shoulders in messy waves. Her bare feet were dirty. Her body weak, but her eyes still burned like fire. Wasn't just any girl. She was alien. Around the platform, people whispered. Some laughed, some made rude comments. Wild thing, one man said. She bit 3 handlers. Another spat. She's not trained. Useless, unless you like trouble. The girl stayed quiet. Her name was Lyra. She looked down, hiding her face, but she heard every word. A voice shouted from the corner. Last show before the auction ends. It was the slave master. He was tall, with sharp black armor and a mouth full of yellow teeth. This creature was captured in the wild. Zones of Sector 4. She's dangerous, beautiful, and strong. A rare prize? The crowd moved closer. Some pointed. Others just watched, but one man stood still. His name was Rowan, a human. He wore a dusty coat and old boots. A backpack rested on his shoulder. He had no interest in buying anyone. He came here only to fix his ship and leave this city. But something in Lyra's eyes froze him in place. Their eyes met. She blinked once, her lips parting just enough. In a voice so soft only he could hear, she whispered, "Please, take me home." Rowan felt his chest tighten. The market noise faded. Time slowed. He looked around. No one else seemed to notice what she said. The slave master raised her chin with a metal stick. Look at her face, gentlemen. She may look gentle now, but she's a beast when free. Perfect for demonstrations, special entertainment, or science. Lyra flinched but didn't scream. Rowan saw the metal collar on her neck, the same kind used to shock runaways. Her arms had bruises. Her back was bleeding. Rowan clenched his fists. He had seen cruelty before, but this was worse. She wasn't just scared. She was trying to stay alive without losing her soul. "What's the starting bid?" someone asked. 500 credits, the slave master called. A rich alien in golden robes waved his hand. 500. 600, shouted another. Rowan turned to walk away, trying to push the image from his mind. He wasn't here to be a hero. But then he heard it again, soft, almost like a prayer. "Please," she said, "don't. Leave me." He stopped. People continued shouting bids. The price climbed higher. Rowan looked into his wallet. He didn't have enough. He had only 400 credits and a few spare parts. Then he remembered something at the edge of the platform. A trader sat beside a junk table. Among the trash was an old plasma rifle with a cracked lens. Rowan walked over. "Does it still work?" he asked. "Just barely," the trader grinned. "But the power cell alone's worth 300. "Trade it," Rowan said. "The gun, my credits, and the ship's transponder beacon." "All of it." The trader's eyes widened. "You crazy? That's everything you own?" Rowan stared at Lyra again. She wasn't just an alien. She was a prisoner asking for help with her last breath. "Deal," he said. The trader snatched the items and gave Rowan a confirmation disc. Rowan turned and marched toward the auction stand. 750, the golden-robed alien. Shouted, Rowan held up the disc. 800, paid in full.
Nice.
Gasps filled the air. The slave master narrowed his eyes. "You, a lone human traveler? What will you do with a creature like her?" Rowan didn't blink. Let her breathe. Silence grew heavy. Then the master laughed. "Fine, she's yours. Let's see how long you last." Lyra was lowered to the ground, still in chains. Rowan stepped forward. She looked up at him, too weak to stand. He reached out, placing his hand gently on her shoulder. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. Her lips trembled. Then you're the first one. As guards unhooked her chains, the collar still stayed on. Rowan knew this wasn't over yet. Buying her was just the beginning. Now he had to get her out alive, and far away from anyone who would chain her again. Asterisk, the city was sleeping, but the chains still held her tight. Zuran Market Square was empty now. The torches had burned low. The laughter was gone. Only shadows danced along the stone walls. Somewhere in the dark, the sound of footsteps echoed slowly. It wasn't the guards. It wasn't a buyer. It's him, Rowan returned. He stepped silently, careful not to wake the snoring guards nearby. His coat was damp from the night air, and in his hand he held a folded blanket and a flask of clean water. The girl, Lyra, sat against the cage bars where they had locked her after the auction. She had not spoken since they dragged her away, but when she saw Rowan's eyes again, something inside her changed. "I told you I would come back," Rowan whispered. Lyra didn't speak right away. She reached slowly for the water. Her hands trembled. When the cold liquid touched her lips, her eyes closed, and her shoulders finally relaxed. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you do this for me?" Rowan looked around, then crouched beside her. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "Maybe because no one else did." She smiled faintly. Then she moved her wrists. The metal cuffs were still locked, thin red lines showing where they had rubbed her skin raw. "They left this on," she said, "and so I wouldn't forget what I am." "You're not a slave," Rowan said. "You're not an animal." Lyra's eyes glowed softly. "They don't care what I am, only what they want me to be." Rowan pulled something from his pocket, tiny tool no bigger than a nail. "Is a lockpick, old tech, works on simple restraints." He began working on the first cuff. "Wait," Lyra said. "If they find you here, they'll kill you." Rowan nodded. Then we better move fast." The lock clicked. One cuff fell. "Open." He moved to the other. Lyra's breath caught as he touched her wrist. Not because of pain, but because it had been so long since anyone touched her without cruelty. The second lock popped. Her hands were free. But the collar stayed. Its blinking red light was a warning one wrong move, and it would shock her into unconsciousness. Rowan leaned in close. "I saw a control chip on the back. It's not coded. If I can reach it, I can turn it off. You'll need a signal blocker," she whispered. "And gloves, I brought both." He pulled a small bandage roll from his pocket, wrapping his fingers before touching the collar. Lyra stayed perfectly still, trusting him. The chip was hidden beneath a thin panel. Rowan's fingers worked fast. Sweat dripped down his temple. Beep. The red light blinked faster. "Stop!" Lyra whispered. "No, I'm almost there." Beep. Longer this time. Then silence. The light stopped blinking. The collar shut down. Lyra let out a sharp breath, her hands flying to her throat. For the first time in months, she wasn't being tracked. "I can feel air," she said. "You're almost free," Rowan whispered. "But we're not safe yet." Suddenly, a loud bark echoed from the gate. The guard dog, part machine, part beast, had woken. Its eyes glowed blue in the shadows. Rowan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run," he said. They dashed into the alley behind the market. The dog followed, metal legs slamming the stone behind them. Lyra was weak, but she kept up. Her breath came in short bursts. Rowan kicked over a crate, slowing the dog for just a moment. A drainage tunnel opened into the lower city. "This way," Rowan shouted. They dove in, sliding down the dirty stone pipe. The dog snarled above, but didn't follow. They landed in black water. Lyra stood slowly, soaked, shivering, but alive. Rowan helped her climb onto the ledge. Above them, the city guards shouted. "They'll search the whole zone," Lyra said. "We're going deeper," Rowan replied. "There's a place down here where the lights don't reach." He led her through the tunnels, past dripping pipes and broken signs. They entered a forgotten part of Ziren. Old buildings, silent machines, and no cameras, just the sound of wind through rusted metal. Rowan opened a hidden hatch. Inside was a small room and old service shelter. Blankets, dried food, and even a medkit were tucked in one corner. "I used to hide here when I was younger," Rowan said. "No one comes here." Lyra looked around, eyes wide. Rowan handed her dry clothes and helped her sit. You can sleep here. I'll keep watch. She paused, then touched his arm. Why did you come back? Really? Rowan stared at the ground. Because when you said take me home, it sounded like the only true thing in that whole market. Lyra looked into his eyes. I don't have a home anymore, Rowan nodded. Then we'll make one, starting here. Outside, alarms began to blare across the city. But inside the dark shelter, a new light was starting to grow. Her scream echoed through the old tunnel, sharp and sudden. Lyra dropped to her knees. Her hands grabbed at the collar on her neck. Sparks flew out from under the metal band as her whole body shook. She gritted her teeth, trying not to cry, but the pain was too strong. Her breath came in short gasps. It's activating again, she whispered. Rowan rushed to her side. I turned it off last night. It's remote triggered, she said, eyes wide. They're tracking me, even from far. The shelter shook as a low rumble passed through the walls. Rowan didn't need to guess they had found her. Market guards had likely triggered the collar from their tower once they noticed she was missing. Rowan pulled out his toolkit again, but Lyra pushed his hand away. No time. If you touch it now, it'll explode. Then we have to move, he said, before the next shock hits. Lyra stood slowly, her legs weak. Where will we go? Out of the city, Rowan answered. There's a freight track. That runs south. If we catch the next cargo rover, we'll be out of range. As if on cue, a loud screech echoed down the tunnel. Heavy metal boots slammed against the old drainage grates. Voices barked commands. Sector C check all tunnels. Looked around. They're using soldier bots. Lyra leaned against the wall, her whole body shaking. I don't want to go back in the cage. You won't, Rowan said. He pulled her hood over her head. Stay close. Follow me. Ran down the tunnel, twisted in circles and dipped low into darkness. Above them, lights flickered on and off as sensors were reactivated. The city was searching at the tunnel's end. A steel ladder led up to a service hatch. Rowan climbed first, then helped Lyra. She winced in pain but didn't stop. The collars. Light was glowing again, brighter this time. Rowan cracked open the hatch. Bright morning light spilled in. The street above was wide and empty, except for a distant hum in the air. That's the cargo rover, he said. It's heading to the outer sands. If we catch it, we disappear. He helped Lyra up, and they ran along the side of the concrete channel. The rover was moving slowly toward a gate. Its wheels were massive, its engine humming like thunder. It carried boxes, tanks, and maintenance drones strapped in nets. Rowan spotted a side ramp. There, he said. We can jump on. They ran for it, but Lyra tripped. She hit the ground hard. The collar blinked red, then began to beep. Rowan skidded to a stop. Lyra, go, she said, choking. You still have a chance. I'm not leaving without you. He dropped aside. Pulled her up, and slung her arm around his shoulder. She was lighter than he expected. He ran with her weight pressed against him. The beeping sped up. Hold on, Rowan shouted. They reached the rover. Rowan leapt and grabbed a cargo hook. With all his strength, he pulled Lyra up behind him. The moment her foot touched the deck, a pulse wave burst from the collar. Blue lightning danced over her shoulders and neck. She collapsed against Rowan, screaming. But something strange happened. The collar glowed white, then fizzled. Sparks shot in every direction. Then it went. Silent. Smoke lifted from her shoulders. The collar's light was gone. Rowan stared. It's dead. Lyra opened her eyes. Maybe it reached its limit. Or maybe the distance broke the signal. Behind them, the market wall shrank in the distance. The cargo rover picked. Up speed, they had escaped the city. For now, Rowan laid her down inside. A netted cargo tarp and covered her with a fabric roll. He checked her pulse. Still strong. He sat beside her, watching the desert pass by. Sleep, he said. You're safe for now. She blinked. Thank you again. But even as she closed her eyes, Rowan stayed alert. This wasn't over. The slavers wouldn't give up so easily. They would come. The next time they'd bring something worse than a collar. They'd bring hunters. *, the wind stopped. The desert was too quiet. Rowan felt at first like the air had frozen around them. Looked out from the back of the cargo rover, his eyes scanning the endless dunes. The sun was high now, but there was no heat, no sound, not even the chirp of sand crickets. Just silence. Something was wrong. Inside the tarp, Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Her skin had healed a little, and the pain from the collar was gone. But her body still felt heavy. She looked up at Rowan. "Why did the wind stop?" she asked softly. Rowan didn't answer. His gaze was fixed on the sky. Far above, something was gliding, something smooth, round, and silent. It didn't flap like a bird. It didn't hum like a drone. It floated like a ghost, casting a thin shadow over the sand. Then it vanished. What was that? Lyra sat. "Oop. A hunter," Rowan said. "But not just any. That was a faceless." Her lips parted. "You're sure? I've seen one before. They don't chase. They wait. They follow until you're tired. Then they move." Lyra's hands trembled. "If they sent a faceless after us, then the slave master really wants me back. How we make sure he never finds you." He stood and looked toward the next stop, the maintenance station in the Valley of Spines. That's where this rover would slow down to recharge. But it was hours away. Rowan reached into his bag and pulled out a worn tracking jammer made from scrap. He slapped it on the side of the rover. "If that thing comes lower, this will confuse it for a few minutes," he said. "But only once. Should we hide?" Rowan shook his head. "No, we run before it forces us to." He helped. Lyra climbed down the rear ramp. The wheels of the cargo rover crushed the sand beside them as it moved forward without them. They dropped onto the hot dune floor, boots sinking into the dust. "Where are we going?" Lyra asked. "There's a hidden water pipe that runs through the spines," Rowan replied. "I used to follow it when I smuggled food years ago." Together, they hurried across the dunes. The heat was rising again. Every breath burned their lungs. Every step grew harder. But Lyra kept going. She didn't cry. She didn't ask to stop. Rowan noticed this. She was no longer the silent girl from the cage. She was growing stronger, piece by piece. Behind them, a shimmer danced on the horizon. Rowan turned quickly. "Don't look. Just keep moving." "Why?" "Because the faceless doesn't walk. It floats. And if you look at it, it knows where your fear lives." Lyra swallowed hard and grabbed Rowan's hand. "Then don't let go." They crossed a dry riverbed. Ahead, black stone pillars rose like broken teeth from the sand. The Valley of Spines. Sharp rocks, narrow paths, and deep shadows between twisted formations. A good place to hide, but also to be trapped. Rowan led her through a thin crevice between two rocks. "Stay low," he whispered. They crawled through the dark passage. Above, a soft humming started. Not a sound made by any living thing. It buzzed deep inside the ears like pressure building, like something unseen breathing near the skull. Lyra winced. "It's here." Rowan checked the jammer. The signal. Light blinked once, twice, then died. The hunter had found them. He pushed Lyra into a tight cave, just big enough to hide her. "Don't move until I say what will you do?" she asked. "I'll distract it." "No." She grabbed his wrist. "It'll kill you. Then it won't find you." Rowan said. He stepped back into the open canyon, arms raised. "Come on," he whispered into the wind. "Come and get me." The faceless drifted down. It had no eyes, no mouth, just a white mask with no features, like it was made of polished bone. It hovered a foot above the ground, robes flowing without wind. Around it, sand curled upward like water. Rowan pulled a flare from his belt and lit it. The bright light flashed. "Red and hot, over here," he shouted. The faceless turned toward the light. Its chest opened. Inside was a glowing blue eye, blinking once, and it screamed, not a sound, but a pressure wave that shook the rocks. Rowan ran. He dove into a side tunnel as the flare exploded behind him. The shock wave shattered one of the stone spines. Rocks tumbled, dust blinded everything. Lyra ran out from her hiding spot. Rowan. He crawled from the rubble, coughing, alive. The faceless was gone, forced back by the blast. For now, Rowan grabbed her hand. We keep going. It'll return. But now, it knows we'll fight. They ran deeper into the valley. Behind them, the hunter watched from above, waiting, silent learning. The game had changed. This time Lyra wasn't the prey. She was part of the fight. The door hissed open, but the silence behind it felt dangerous. Rowan stepped in first, one hand on his knife, the other holding Lyra behind him. They had reached the old shelter in the cliffs, a forgotten research post built before the war. No guards, no lights, no signs of life. Just cracked glass domes, vines growing through the metal, and dust thick enough to choke. "This place gives me bad dreams," Lyra whispered. Rowan nodded. "Good. That means no one else wants to be here either." He kicked aside some broken tools and moved toward the far corner. He knew this lab. He had hidden here once, long ago when his crew was ambushed. Now it was the only place left where they could rest. Lyra looked around. Her fingers touched a half-melted control panel. Symbols lit up faintly under her touch, still glowing after all these years. "I think this was a medical pod," she said. "For gene healing. Can it help you?" Rowan asked. "It's not without power," she said. "But I can feel something. Underneath? Like this place remembers me." Rohan raised an eyebrow. "You've been here before?" She shook her head. "No. But my people built places like this." They moved deeper, stepping over broken wires and shattered glass. Rowan opened a supply locker and found 2 cans of food, a half-dead power cell, and a small medkit. "Enough for one more day," he said. Then came the noise. It was soft at first, a gentle tap, like something moving across glass. Lyra turned. Toward the central dome. Someone's watching. A figure appeared outside the cracked dome window. It wasn't the faceless this time. It was a slaver, scout tall, armored in silver-black plating, with a scanner visor blinking across his face. Behind him were 3 more, their rifles glowing with charge. "They found us," Rowan whispered. He locked the inner door. "We need to hide." "They'll breach it in minutes," Lyra said, voice shaking. "This place is thin." Rowan pulled out the old power cell and tried to connect it to the panel. Sparks flew. Lights flickered for a second, just long enough to show how badly damaged the room truly was. One more blast from outside, and the wall would collapse. Then Lyra did something unexpected. She stepped forward, right to the center of the room. "Rowan, stay behind me." He stared. "What are you doing?" "I told you before," she said. "My people use sound vibration to heal, but not just to heal. We could also protect." She took a deep breath. Body began to glow. Faint at first. Her voice started low, just a hum. A deep, echoing sound that made the dust rise from the floor. Outside, the slavers raised their weapons. Rowan moved to stop her. "He'll shoot through the glass." But the sound grew. Lyra's voice climbed, powerful now, vibrating the walls. Cracks began to seal themselves. The broken machines trembled. A wave of energy pulsed outward from her chest. The first blast from the slavers hit the dome and bounced off. Rowan gasped. "You're holding them out." Lyra's eyes were glowing completely white. She sang louder, stepping into the light. Her voice became a living wall, a storm of tone and force. Outside, the slavers shouted. Another shot came. It shattered in the air before touching the dome. Then she screamed not in fear, but in power. The sound wave burst like a sonic explosion. The glass in the dome shattered outward, not inward. The slavers were thrown off their feet. One hit a stone pillar and didn't rise. The others crawled back, stunned, dropping their weapons. And the silence returned. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. The glow faded from her skin. Rowan rushed forward and caught her before she fell. "You burned them back?" He said. She nodded weakly. "It's not just a song. It's our truth. Our voices were always meant to protect." He helped her to the bench and opened the medkit. Her nose was bleeding. Her hands shook. But her spirit was stronger than ever. Rowan wiped the blood and smiled. "You didn't just survive. You fought." "Next time," Lyra whispered, "I want to fight sooner." Rowan looked at the broken glass, the scattered gear outside, and the slavers limping away. "I'll call for more," he said. "Way. Won't stop now." Lyra looked up at him. "And we don't stop either. I'm not going back in a cage." "Good," Rowan said, "'cause now they're afraid of you." They packed what they could and stepped out into the sunlight. The research post was ruined, but it had served its purpose. It gave Lyra the chance to remember who she really was. Not a slave, not a thing. She was a weapon. She was hope, and she was finally free enough to fight back. From the cliffs above, a familiar shadow watched. The Faceless was back. But this time, it stayed hidden. It had heard her song. It was afraid. The sky turned gold as the sun dropped behind the dunes. But the air was thick with heat and fear. Rowan's breath was uneven as he pulled Lyra along the ridge of a dried canyon, every step sinking into soft sand. Her legs were shaking, her lips cracked, but she refused to stop. Behind them, 2 smoke trails curved across the Sky Hunter's signals. Not one, but 2 new units were closing in. "They're not giving up," Lyra said, her voice rough. "No," Rowan replied. "They want you to badly now." They dropped into the canyon. Below was an old skimmer recrusted and broken, its cockpit shattered. Rowan had hidden here once during a border fight years ago. He knew there was a hollow inside, cold and dark. It wouldn't last forever, but it would hide them for the night. They slipped through the side and into the shadows. Rowan placed his hand on the wall, then guided Lyra down carefully. Her head rested on his shoulder, her glowing skin dim now. Her energy fading? "You shouldn't have used the voice twice," Rowan whispered. "I had to," she said. "If I didn't stop them, they would have taken you too." He paused. "You were never the one who needed saving, were you?" She smiled faintly. "You didn't know what I was when you bought me." You asked to go home. That was enough." They fell quiet, listening to the desert wind howl through the cracks. Somewhere far above, an engine purred. Softly a scout drone, circling Lyra, sat up. They're scanning the sand. Thermal search. "We won't stay hidden long." Rowan opened his satchel and pulled out a heat shield cloak. "Won't fool them for more than 10 minutes. But maybe. We don't need to hide." "What are you thinking?" He looked her in the eyes. "That it's time we stop running." Lyra blinked. "What do you mean? I mean..." "You shook a building to its bones with your voice. Shattered a glass dome with a song. You can do more." She looked down. "I don't know if I have anything left. That last wave, it felt like fire in my chest." "You've done enough," Rowan said gently. "But if you sing again, I'll be there. This time I'll protect you." Suddenly, a flash lit the sky. One of the hunters had found their trail. The engine roar grew louder. A red beam swept the canyon wall and stopped right above the wreck. "They found us," Lyra said. Rowan stood. "Then let's give them something to find." He pulled the cloak over Lyra, then climbed out the hatch. He stood tall under the fading light, hands at his side, waiting. The hunter dropped from the sky. Unlike the Faceless, this one had form of 4-legged war drone with a long neck and a single red eye. Its metal hide shimmered like oil. The voice that came from it was cold. "Return the property, or be destroyed." Rowan stared. "She is not your property." "Unauthorized removal of controlled species. Class 3 crime. Final warning." Rowan took a breath. "I'm not running." The drone's weapon shifted, locking on. Then behind him, Lyra stepped out. The cloak dropped. Her eyes were glowing. Again, but this time, not just white. There was fire, deep and pulsing like a star. She stood tall, her bare feet on the sand, her voice rising into the dry air. A single note echoed out, not loud, not sharp, but deep, heavy, like the sound of mountains moving. The hunter twitched, its eye flickered. She stepped closer and sang again, this time stronger. The drone's metal legs bent. Sparks flew from its joints. It tried to raise its weapon, but Lyra's voice surged like a wave. Rowan stood beside her, eyes wide. The sound changed. It turned beautiful, almost like wind through trees, but stronger, brighter, alive, The drone fell to the ground. Its red eye blinked once, then faded. The machine died. Lyra collapsed again, but Rowan caught her. He held her tightly, shielding her from the falling dust. "You did it," he whispered. "You stopped it." She coughed, then laughed softly. "I felt it this time. Not fire, but light." He looked at her, amazed. That wasn't just a weapon. That was freedom. She looked up at him, breathing. Slowly, "I didn't sing for myself. I sang for you, because you believed in me before I even remembered who I was." The sun had fully set now. Only starlight touched the canyon. Rowan wrapped her in the heat cloak. "Rest, we'll move again before dawn." As he stood to keep watch, he saw it high above. The faceless floated quietly, no longer chasing. Just watching, it did not attack. Because tonight it had learned something new. Even chains cannot hold a voice filled with fire. The port was full of voices, but none as powerful as hers. Rowan stood at the gates of Port Meridian, watching the chaos unfold. Security bots marched between ships. Merchants shouted deals in every language. Dock cranes groaned as crates were lifted skyward. Somewhere in the noise, alarms blared. News had reached the port. A dangerous girl had escaped slavery, destroyed drones, and vanished into the dunes. That girl was now standing beside him. Lyra wore a long desert cloak, her silver hair hidden under the hood. Her hands were still bandaged, her steps still slow, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. They had traveled through canyon and night, faced machines and monsters, but now they were close, just one more checkpoint between them and the stars. "This is it," Rowan said. "Once we're through those doors, we board the freighter to Althea. No one can touch you after that." Lyra didn't answer right away. She looked at the crowd, at the ships, at the people rushing by. All of them were too busy to notice her. For the first time in her life, she was invisible and free. But freedom, she realized, wasn't just escape. It was choice. A siren wailed behind them. A voice shouted over the port loudspeakers. "Halt all movement. Wanted fugitive identified near Dock 6. Do not engage standby for collection unit." Rowan's heart sank. From the far end of the port, the slave master appeared, taller than Rowan remembered, dressed in gold and shadow. His guards spread out behind him. The center of their formation floated the faceless, still silent, still waiting. "They came themselves," Rowan muttered. Lyra looked up. "They don't want to chase this time. They want a scene." Rowan grabbed her hand. "We run. I'll take the hit. You just know," she said softly. "No more running. Not for me. Not for you." She pulled back her hood. Instantly the crowd turned. Whispers rose. Someone gasped. A security drone hovered close, scanning her glowing skin. "She's the one," someone said. From the posters, the slave master stepped forward. Smiling, "Return her to me. That girl is mine." The guards raised their weapons. But Lyra stepped forward, not behind Rowan, not into his arms, but ahead of him. Alone. She raised her voice, not loud but steady. "I was changed," she said, her voice echoing through the dock speakers. "Caged, bought and displayed. Called me a thing." Her eyes swept across the crowd. "I am not your thing." The slave master laughed. "You'll regret those words." "I already regretted silence," Lyra said. Then she did something no one expected. She reached into her cloak, pulled out the slave collar, burned, broken, lifeless, and held it high. "This is what you put around my neck," she shouted. "I let it happen." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "But this time, I choose." She threw the collar onto the ground and stomped on it. Soft tone filled the air, low and growing. People covered their ears. The guards shouted. Rowan smiled. "Yeah!" she was singing. But this time her song wasn't to defend, it was to reveal. The port lights flickered. Security cameras shattered. Energy pulsed through every speaker and sensor, washing the docks in vibrating light. And suddenly, everyone saw the truth memories pulled from her voice, painted into the air. The crowd saw her chained in the market, heard the laughter, felt the pain. They saw Rowan kneel beside her, watched him raise his hand to bid everything he had, saw her eyes glowing, hopeful, desperate hand, heard her first whisper.
Please.
Take me home. The vision faded. Silence fell. No one moved. Even the faceless stopped floating, its body lowered. For the first time it turned toward. Liran bowed. The slave master shouted, furious, she's mine. You're all blind. She's just a product, but no one listened. A merchant picked up a metal rodon, threw it at the master's feet. Another threw down their scanner. Then another. Crowd moved like a wave, pushing forward. Rowan stood still, stunned. Lyra turned to him. You gave me my first choice. Now I give you one. He stepped closer. What is it? She held out her hand. Come with me, not because you saved me, but because I want you beside me. Rowan took her hand. The crowd parted. They walked together toward the freighter. The guards didn't stop them. Faceless did not move. As the ship doors closed behind them, Lyra leaned against Rowan and whispered, Home isn't a place. It's the person who lets you choose your own sky. And for the first time in her life, she flew free, not because she escaped, but because this time she chose.